Hello, I'm Ethan Erwin, and we are back with another week of the College Football Podcast. Today, my guests are
Henry Hahn.
Liam Daly.
and we're going to get right into this. Of course, we only have one game this week, so we'll just dive into that, and then we'll get into the playoff and Heisman odds after that. So the game this week is obviously the Army versus Navy game, and Army is number 19 in this one. What do you all think about that?
I think Army takes care of business. I think Army gets the win this week. No questions asked.
You know what? I got Navy. I think Navy was ranked at 1.2 this season, and you throw all records out in this historic rivalry. So I got Navy.
I'm going to go with Army here. Just with the same opponents they've played, Army seems dominant in every single game they've played, except for the Notre Dame one, which Navy did lose to as well. So I think Army might win by 30 plus here. I think it could be a blowout. And then we have Clemson, number 12, at Texas, number 5. The money line for this one is Texas being favored by 10.5. What do you think about that?
It's not out of the picture with Texas losing, but if Clemson has to beat SMU on a 56-yard field goal, SMU is not Texas Longhorn, level of college football either. So I think Texas wins.
Yeah, I'd agree there. I don't think Clemson's on the same field as Texas, so I'm gonna go with Texas too.
All three of us are going to agree here. I'm going Texas as well. Then we have SMU, number 11, at Penn State, number 6. Penn State is favored by 9.5.
Yeah, I don't think SMU's, they're from Texas. So the cold might play a factor. I think the crowd's going to play a factor, but overall I just don't think that they're quite ready. I think 2 or 3 more years of being good and being in the playoff, they can maybe make a run, but I don't think this year's their year.
You know what? I'm gonna go SMU here. I just don't trust Penn State in a big game. They haven't won one. They haven't beat ranked top 10 opponent under James Franklin in college football playoff. I just don't see it happening. So I'm gonna go SMU.
Yeah, I see this as everyone thinking Penn State has the easiest path to the semifinals, but I think they could get knocked out first round. I think SMU will take this one. Then we have Indiana, number 10, versus Notre Dame, number 7. Notre Dame being favored by 8.5 here.
Indiana, they didn't have the strongest schedule, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad team, but it's just another one of those games where it's like these teams are not on the same level. One got in because they had an easier schedule, period. So give me Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think this Indiana team's good enough to compete in the college football playoff. So, they might not have gotten in if all those SEC teams didn't lose 2 weeks ago. So I'm gonna go Notre Dame.
Don't get me wrong, Indiana is a good team, but the way Notre Dame has played their opponents this year, I mean, Army and Navy, for example, they blew them out. I think Notre Dame takes this one as well. Then we have Tennessee, number 9, at Ohio State, number 8. Ohio State's favored by 7 here.
Yeah, I don't know with this front 5 for Ohio State. If they give up pressure early, Will Howard gets flustered. Any quarterback will, but you saw it in the Michigan game. They were able to get a little bit of pressure on him. He's messing up his footwork, making some bad throws, so it just happens. I think Tennessee's defense can overwhelm Ohio State. Give me Tennessee.
I think Ohio State's going to come out with a vengeance after losing to Michigan the way they did. Play some pretty good football at home with their crowd, talking all that they did after losing to Michigan. So I got Ohio State.
I'm going to have to go with Ohio State, too. They've looked like a dominant team all year, despite, of course, the Michigan game and the Oregon game, which was still close. So I'm going to go Ohio State here. Which then brings us to the next round where Henry will have Tennessee versus Oregon, and me and Liam will have Ohio State versus Oregon. So we'll start with you, Henry. What do you think there?
Oregon's just going to win flat out.
You know what? I'm going to go with Ohio State in the rematch. I think, last time they played at Oregon, and Ohio State probably should have won that game. They kind of threw it away in the final seconds. So give me Ohio State in the rematch.
I think Oregon takes the rematch again. I think Oregon will have the clean sweep of Ohio State this year, and I believe Oregon will be advancing to the semifinals. Which then brings us to Arizona State versus either Clemson or Texas. I believe all of us said Texas, so what do we think about that?
You know, Arizona State's story is just too good, I think, to end at this point in the year. You know, they're fired up. They're ready to go play Texas or Clemson. It's probably going to be Texas, though. They're going to have to play hard, but I think if they do play Texas, they win. I think they move on. They've worked too hard.
I agree. They're hot. I know they got a bye, but Cam Scatterbo is unbelievable. In Texas, I mean, their only win against a ranked team is A&M.
Vanderbilt.
Well, they're not ranked anymore. I guess they were ranked when they played them. You're right. But yeah, and then the 2 losses to Georgia, one being kind of a blowout. So I'm gonna go with Arizona State at a neutral site.
I'm going to say Arizona State takes this one as well. I think whoever they play, it's going to be a 10-point plus game. Which then brings us to, I believe, Oregon against Arizona State for me and Henry. And for Liam, Ohio State versus Arizona State. So we'll start with you, Henry.
Oregon, yeah, they're just a team of destiny. It feels like, you know, they've had some close games this year, but they've always pulled it out. They always find a way. Are they going to have a tough time trying to stop Scatterbo and Arizona State for sure? But I think this is their closest game of the year next to Ohio State. I think they pull it out, though, and I think they advance to the national championship.
Well, since me and Henry have the same one, I'll just go here. I think this one is going to be an offensive shootout. I think both teams' offenses will be clicking. We'll see pretty much the Penn State-Oregon game, except here I have Arizona State on top. I think they get to the championship.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ohio State beating Arizona State in the semifinals. I think any 3 of Tennessee, Ohio State, or Oregon, whoever makes it out of that little section is going to beat any 3 who come out of the teams that play in Clemson, Texas, or Arizona State. I think all 3 of those are better teams, so I'm going to go with Ohio State.
And then we go to the other side of the bracket where we'll start off with number 10, Indiana, playing number 7, Notre Dame. What do y'all think about that one? Or wait, my bad. I read that wrong. We already went through that one. So we all have Notre Dame versus Georgia in this one. My bad. So what do you think about that then?
Kirby Smart knows how to win, and I don't think Notre Dame is quite ready. They've been here, you know, I think once in the past, 6 years? They won in like 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
That was under a different head coach. I don't think Freeman's ready. I think Georgia surprises a lot of people and blows Notre Dame out.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Georgia too here. Similar reasons. Notre Dame, they've had a great year and they've beaten their teams pretty badly, but I just think Georgia's playing their best ball right now. So
I'm gonna have to go with Georgia as well. I mean, they've had some shaky spots this season with that Bama loss, and then they brought things up again. And then after that SEC championship game against Texas, their defense looked legit, and I think they will win in a blowout fashion, no matter if they play Notre Dame or Indiana here. And then that brings us to Boise State versus SMU for me and Liam, I think, and Boise State versus Penn State for Henry.
We saw what Ashton Jeanty could do to Oregon. I don't care if it was early in the season. I don't think Penn State's ready. You know, Boise State is a program that's actually been to a couple of New Year's Six bowls. They know how to handle the pressure. I don't care if they got a young head coach. They're beating Penn State.
I agree. You know, they're going back to the Fiesta Bowl, where that game against Oklahoma, crazy game. So I think, and I agree, Ashton Jeanty. I don't think SMU is going to be able to stop him. So, yeah, I got Boise State in that one.
I think Ashton Jeanty will have a legacy game here. I don't know, do they count stats in the playoffs, like season stats?
I think so, because he's 132 yards away from the single-season rushing record.
Yeah.
So then I think he gets a single-season rushing record in this game here, and I think they advance to the next round, which would bring up Boise State versus Georgia, I believe, for all of us.
Yeah.
So, what do we think here?
This is where Boise State's run ends, unfortunately for me. Georgia is just Georgia, as much as we all hate to admit it. I think that's probably going to be a pretty common answer between us three, is that Boise State won't be able to handle Georgia defensively. I think their offense is going to be just fine because, Maddox Madsen's super underrated and Ashton Genty's Ashton Genty. So I think they fall to Georgia.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't know if they're going to be able to handle the physicality that Georgia's going to bring. Obviously, they were close with Oregon, but I think just, I got Georgia in this one.
That's where I think I'm going to disagree with you guys. I'm going to go Boise State here. I think every game Boise State will play in will be an offensive shootout. I don't think Georgia's defense will be able to stop them, and I don't think their offense will be able to match it. I know Boise State's defense is terrible, but I think Boise State's offense versus Georgia's defense is a more overpowered matchup than Georgia's offense versus Boise State's defense. Which then, for you guys, would leave, for you, Henry, I think it would leave Georgia versus Oregon. Or did you say?
I had Georgia versus Oregon.
And then did Georgia, Ohio State.
Ohio State, and then for me, that would put Boise State versus Arizona State. So we'll start off with you, Henry. What do you think?
I don't know how Kirby Smart's going to do it. I just know he will. He's going to use probably some dark magic to probably get another national championship down there in Georgia.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Ohio State in this one. I think they'll get it done. I know people online have been Ohio State fans are saying they still won't be happy with this season if they win a national championship, even though they lost to Michigan. But I do think they'll get it done. So
I'm starting to realize that my bracket has become quite impossible. But I think in this one, Boise State will become national champions. Which so we're going through all the odds here, and I'm just realizing that Boise State is at the bottom for everything at plus 5,000. So
you never know.
You put $100 on it, walk away with 5,000.
Yeah.
And then Henry, you said Georgia, so that would that's
I was born. I had the 1 and the 2, and
that would be plus 350. And then Liam, you said Ohio State, which would be plus 450 here. So mine may be the most improbable, but not out of the picture. I like these two brackets. I think they could make it pretty far. Which then brings us to Heisman odds. Travis Hunter still leads the pack, but his lead is narrowing, now at minus 4,000. Ashton Genty, not so close, but close behind, at plus 1,100. Dylan Gabriel, plus 40,000. Curtis Rourke, Jalen Milroe, and Shador Sanders, all at plus 50,000. So here it's basically just Travis Hunter versus Ashton Genty. It has been for a few weeks. Henry, who do you think takes it?
I don't think he takes it, but I think he deserves it. And I think it's Ashton Genty. I get it. Travis Hunter is playing on both sides of the ball, which we haven't seen in, 15 years? So I personally never seen anyone play on both sides of the ball in college football. I'm too young, so this is my first. But he's talented, yes, but Ashton Genty could have only his yards after contact and still be leading the nation in rushing yards, and he's 132 yards away from breaking the single-season record. I think it's just against the running backs. It's like if Saquon Barkley doesn't win the MVP this year, I think people just hate running backs.
First of all, I would say, this is a crazy year where I think they both are deserving of it, and I think, last year Travis Hunter would have won it, Ashton Genty would have won it, so, most other years, each of them, if they didn't have each other in it, they probably would both win it, so, I think Travis Hunter is going to win it, but my personal pick would be Ashton Genty. He's probably going to finish with 30 touchdowns on the year, it's ridiculous. And then I know Travis Hunter plays, both sides of the ball. 130 snaps a game was insane, but he's probably not a top 3 receiver, and he's probably not a top 3 corner either. So I'm gonna go with Ashton Genty.
I'm going to go with Ashton Genty as well here. I think if he gets Barry Sanders' record, then I think that seals it. I think he will be the Heisman then. It's hard to argue with something of that magnitude, but I think Ashton Genty will walk away with the Heisman this year. So then that will do it for us with another episode on the College Football Podcast. We are about done this year. This will be the last week of it. And so, yeah, I guess we're going to be signing off then. We'll see y'all later.